Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Montega, welcome to today's earnings call of the Iute Group regarding the publication of the half-year figures of 2023. The CEO Tamo Silt and the CFO Kristi Kurwitz, and as well the Chief Legal Officer Kadi Runcev will give you a presentation in a moment, and the floor will be opened for upcoming questions following the presentation. Having said that, I hand over the word to you, Tamo, and you may also want to share your slides in case you have some.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. And it's a pleasure to have everybody here. I also like the part of introduction where you said Iute Group, because indeed we are Iute Group. We have changed the name, and this also represents our vision for the future, that we are not only limited to credit services and making money with credit services, but also making money with payment services, and eventually also, why not, subject to development, making money by offering our customers opportunities to put money into deposits, or maybe buy some securities, just like you. So to start sharing the screen, I thought actually that the screen is already shared. Let's just check. Could you please confirm if the screen is now shared?
It is not shared yet.
One moment.
Yep, now it is loading, and now we see your presentation.
Good. So 6 months. We made money, we have been growing, and we have been focusing on quality. Quality, just to have in mind the longer future, past 2026. By the way, just a few weeks ago, we successfully redeemed the 2023 bond. How time flies, huh? Can you imagine? And now we are hooked and working for the investors of our October 26 bond, but we also look beyond that point. And looking beyond that point, it is obvious that we have to build a group which is very robust in its management system, in its communications, in the data analysis, in verification, validation, etc., etc., etc. So we really focus on the quality, having in mind that we don't want to stay the group which consolidated balance sheet size of about 350 million euros, or with about 250,000 active performing customers. We want much, much more. We think we are capable of it, but foundations has to come first, not to build something big, which later is not that sustainable because there are some design flaws. So this is really our focus, the internal quality. And just to throw a few numbers, even before we go to the real detailed operational level digits, the focus of quality, for instance, means that we can bring our operating expenses to the level of 40% from the revenues. Right now, we are behind that target. We are standing at around 43%. That could serve as one example. The other example, obviously, is the revenue per our team member, per our employee, where eventually it would be very nice to have stable numbers above 150,000 euros per year. And also, we would like to see more revenues per customer, which means we have to activate more service streams. So this is a very generic part, confirmation that we focus on quality. And now let's go into the more detailed level. Well, the biggest growth number is related to the revenue. During 6 months of 2022, we made approximately 40 million euros total revenue. In the report, it's presented as income. We use the word income. I use the word revenue. It's the same. So 40 million during 6 months 2022, and 52 million during 2023, the same period. So there is growth, and that growth actually comes from using more or less the same amount of assets, but putting them into more active production. Having said that, we have also seen that the OPEX, the operating expense, has followed the revenue increase. Luckily, operating expenses are not increasing that fast as the revenues are. So we see that we are moving in the right direction. But as I said, our long-term aim is 40% OPEX from revenue. Net loan portfolio also grew to 208 million euros. Adjusted EBITDA at 23 million euros and the net profit of the period 7 million euros. We are all satisfied with it. We are not exhilarated, nor are we concerned. It goes, well, actually, I have heard some other guys telling that it goes according to the plan. So I avoid using this phrase, but I say that we are on track and we have also ongoing challenges. So if we go to the ongoing challenges, they also are visible on this front page. You see that the customer performance index, which where we aimed even highest numbers of 91% during year end or by year end 22, it has now fallen back to the level of 88. And just for the point of reference, 88 is about 2 percentage points below our ideal target, which is 90. So we see that the repayment discipline is decreasing. We experience it not across the board, but it applies maybe more to some customer segments in some countries. So it's not even everywhere. And obviously, since we are able to detect which customer groups perform worse as compared to other customer groups, we also have to take measures to adjust. And generally, those measures mean that we also limit the lending. And again, the focus is on quality, not on the growth. Right now, 88 is something which really catches our attention and deserves specific work. Long-term ideal number is 90. And the same is reflected in NPLs in net portfolio. Basically, it's a derivative. If the cash flow is not ideal, but less than ideal, and the cash flow is 88% of the expected nominal values that the customer has promised to repay, then the same is also reflected eventually in the NPLs. On the upside, we are really proud that we have made something work in practice. And that something is QR payments in our group payment institution in Albania, where customers really can make payments at merchants which have joined us using QR code, using only their smartphone. It means that we have built our own payments value stream and payments revenue stream. This is a long-term journey, I should say, in advance. It's not something which explodes immediately and starts bringing in a lot of money without any corresponding cost. I would rather take it as a journey into, let's take another example. I think it's a bit similar to Tesla business, because I think during the first years, Tesla was only for a very strong fan club. And I think many people didn't take it as a serious company. But by being consistent and persistent, you can build something serious out of it. And I think we are in the beginning with our journey by building something serious out of it. Essentially, what we are doing, we are changing the structure, the market structure of payment intermediaries. And we are able to put the merchant and the customer together inside our own ecosystem without any involvement of a major international card platform. So we can keep all the money. We also take all the cost. So it's very qualitative step, not maybe seen that strongly in the revenue streams, but the revenues are increasing. And our focus is now to gain traction among customers and also among the merchants. So operationally, still we present the data in two columns, non-bank business or traditional Iute credit business, which also involves now our Iute Pay companies and also involves our activities, includes our activities for insurance brokerage, and then the traditional bank, which we try to make a modern digitalized bank. Again, starting statement, both business lines are profitable. And they are independent, self-sustainable business lines. With the credit business, we present, I think this is the last time we present you 5 flags, because we are progressing well with the wind down of the business in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the smallest position at the bottom of the page, you see that the loans issued 0.0 million. Net loan portfolio decreased to 1.9 million euros. We are taking some losses in relation to the wind down, and I do not expect Bosnia and Herzegovina to appear on this presentation, if not by end of Q3, then for sure by end of the year. Now to the business which matters, where your money is revolving and where we are making money. You see that the competition between Moldova and Albania is getting tighter and tighter, and I would say that Albania is about to bypass Moldova. We see that the amount of loans issued is still slightly less than Moldova, but the net loan portfolio in Albania has surpassed, net loan portfolio of Albania has surpassed Moldova. We also see that the total income, or total revenue from Albania has clearly surpassed Moldova. The same applies to EBITDA. And also we see that the impairments are on a relative comparative level. So I would say that the race is tight, but Albania is showing signs of bypassing Moldova. And when we switch to then our third country, where we're making money, North Macedonia, then I would say that the business results so far are not exactly what we expected. We actually have been expecting stronger growth in Macedonia. We continue work to achieve it. The results still support the overall group picture. So we see that we issued 17 million euros loans. Our net loan portfolio is close to 27 million euros. And we made positive EBITDA. But rather, I would say, but not and, is that the volume of impairments is relatively high in Macedonia. And then Bulgaria, our startup child, which is running now its second full year. We see that the loans issued are approaching the volumes we have achieved in Macedonia. The issue in Bulgaria is also related to the customer repayment discipline, but that's also normal considering the difficulties related to entering, or the barriers related to entering into a new country, the cost of acquisition of customers, and also the repayment discipline of the brand new customers, and relatively small share of return customers who really show very good repayment performance. We expect that the share of returning customers will increase over time as the business matures and develops its customer pool. So in the big picture, one startup, one mid-range player, and 2 leading players who are competing, and seems that Albania is bypassing Moldova. By the way, interestingly, the currency exchange rate in Albania has also made an interesting twist. Now let's switch off from the period of past 6 months and take a period of past 5 years. Albania lek has been stably in the exchange rate range of about 120 leks for euro, and we have seen very sharp appreciation of lek versus euro during the last, I would say, even less than 6 months period. And we continue watching with curiosity what will be the next steps by National Bank of Albania, and how they see the country's GDP evolving, and how also they see, I think it's somehow related to the amount of Italian tourists or European tourists in Albania during the high season. But this is my high level guess, and we will be watching with curiosity what will happen to this currency in the coming periods. My personal expectation is that it would rather be closer to 120 in the longer run, so back where it used to be. But we shall see. In the bank issued less loans than Iute Credit Moldova. The bank obviously is more conservative in its credit policy. We also see that the bank made a lot less impairments. The bank had a total revenue of 9 million euros. The revenues of the bank are increasing, and the bank also made decent profit during 6 months. So all in all, what do we see? We see that the group has 208 million euros debt loan portfolio, which has been already allocated in quite comparable tranches between different entities. And we also made 52 million euros revenue. Again, the revenue coming from 4 significant positions in the biggest part. Right. What else to add? I would say that the focus on quality is also reflected in the amount of loans issued during 2022-2023. So if you would look at the bottom left corner of the page, where you see the quarterly amount of loans issued, or we call it payout, and you see that by end of 2022, we issued about 66 to 73 million euros per month. And you see that the issue volume has been stabilized at around 70 million euros per quarter. The APR has been in slight decline. The nominal APR has been in slight decline, and the maturity has been slightly increased. So again, we are not pushing very hard on the accelerator pedal. We rather focus on how to make the existing assets work better for us without any strong view to exponentially grow the business. And of course, one more thing which reflects our progress is the number of Iute downloads. We have now reached more than 600,000 downloads with our customers. So I think this is in the big good part what I can say about the business. Maybe yes, one more slide about the loan repayment behavior. I already touched it before, but you see also in the, let's say, close-up picture on the right side of the slide, you see that the close-up indicating the CPI 30. For the ones who follow us first time, CPI is our cash flow metrics. It shows the ratio between the expected repayments by customers and expectations at Iute are very precise because there are loan repayment schedules which set forth by date the amount of principal and other fees to be repaid to Iute on that date. So we know the expectations and the actual repayments, they are what they are, what one can see by the customer. And we see that the CPI has been in decline during 2023. And again, we think it is a derivative. It's a result of higher inflation, higher household costs, also certainly not increase in the household overall incomes. And somehow this, but directly this has impacted the customer repayment discipline. And for us, it means, again, more fine-tuning and also in some customer segments being more conservative. Well, and in the collection, it's the usual zigzag around 40% benchmark, where now it will be perhaps if we will do a stress test, it will be safer to assume that the collection efficiency will be around 30 to 35% within first 180 days from the termination of loan agreement, meaning that we will rescue or collect from customers 30 to 35 euros per each 100 euros of principal which defaulted. Well, I think now really this is good part of it, and we can switch over to the financials. Of course, you will have an opportunity to ask more questions from us. We look forward to it. And Krista, now I give it to you.
Yes, and good morning from my side as well. So, and let me briefly introduce our financial highlights during the first half of 2023. As Tarmo already said, yes, we had adjusted EBITDA in amount of 23 million euros. Year-on-year basis, adjusted EBITDA increased by 48%. And the main reasons are, of course, higher level of revenues, which comes mostly from Iute non-banking portfolio, from Iute non-banking wallet revenues and insurance revenues. At the Enapbank side, yes, there was slight increase of revenues, but pretty much the same level as it was during the first half 2022. Consolidated basis, our total revenues increased by 30% from 40 million euros to 51 million euros. Our net loan portfolio at the level of 208 million euros. Year-on-year basis increased by 22%, and quarter-on-quarter basis increased by 4.5%. We had our payout at the level of 134 million euros, which means that year-on-year basis payout increased by 12% as well. Unfortunately, yes, as already Tarmo explained, at the same time, our operating expenses also increased year-on-year basis by 28%, from 16 million close to 19 million euros. But also let me explain that we started consolidation of Enapbank at the beginning of February 22nd, which means that comparable figures are not exactly comparable because we are missing 1 month from last year. I mean that operational costs are including operational costs from February until the end of June 2022, but at the same time, first half 2023 is already including 6-month operational cost. But still, that is something we are working on it. As also Tarmo said, we want to keep cost to income ratio level not more than 40%. And as you see that during the last quarter, there was slight decrease of the cost to income ratio as well.
So we move in the right direction.
Yes. Adjusted net profit during the last 6 months during current year, 7 million euros, and comparable figure from last year, 3.4 million euros. Moving further to the next slide. Yes, already said, total number of income close to 52 million euros and increase on a yearly basis by 30%. Especially, we are glad that constantly we are increasing our wallet revenues as well as insurance revenues. Cost to income ratio, we already covered. Just to be noted that adjusted cost to income ratio during the first half 2023, 37%. Net profit margin, we are glad that during the last 6 months, net profit margin increased from 9% to 13%. And we truly believe that with increased level of wallet and insurance revenue, as well as primary revenues, we are able to achieve our aim that cost to income ratio will remain around 15%. Capitalization ratio, which is equity to net loan portfolio, was 31.5%, and interest coverage ratio, which is adjusted EBITDA to interest cost, was 1.8. Year-on-year basis increase by 8% as well. So our financial covenants strongly met. And as you know that during the last quarter, we had refinance exercise. And at the beginning of August, we had also redemption date of 23 bonds, which now we may report that successfully done. And from now on, only 26 bond with maturity at the beginning of October and with interest rate of 11%. Moving further to our loan asset quality, it is pretty much stable. As you see, our net NPL 8% and gross NPL 14.4%. Impairment coverage ratio, which is total impairment to gross NPL, little bit down from 71 to 69.7%. And the main reason that we don't constantly sell our defaulted portfolio. The biggest sale of the 23 we had now in Macedonia during July. Net loan impairment for the period amounted 11.4 million euros, year-on-year basis increased by 23% as well. And still net loan portfolio, still provisions representing more than 7% from total assets. And moving further. So on consolidated basis, we had assets in amount of close to 350 million euros. Year-on-year basis, balance sheet increased by 17%. Quarter-on-quarter basis, balance sheet increased by 6%. 81.4% of total assets, including net loan portfolio and cash. To be mentioned that at the end of June, we had cash balance on consolidated basis, 76 million euros, out of which 45 million euros belong to Enerbank and 31 million euros belong to Iute non-bank sector. And that is the fact that we already started preparation for redemption date from May. And the amount we paid out at the beginning of August due to the redemption was 20 million euros. At the end of first half 23, we had interest-bearing liabilities of 270 million euros. During the first 6 months, liabilities increased by 5.6%, but at the same time, net loan portfolio increased by 7%. So that is shortly all from my side, and I believe now Kadi will continue with interesting part.
Yes.
Yes, if I may say something, Kadi, I just wanted to turn specifically attention to slide 10 and operating expenses breakdown. And when we see that the costs are increasing, then we also see that there is something, to my eyes, like pink section in this column. It's like pink, and
this is me.
Yeah, this is you, exactly. That's what we are talking about.
Excellent. Hello from my side as well. Good morning. It's great to be invited, the first time, by the way. And then it's great to be visible, and my role to be visible for everyone. And I think the main goal today is to just bring comfort that in Iute Group there is compliance and it is functioning, and we are significantly already contributing to the OPEX as well. My apologies, but I think it brings a lot of comfort to the investors. So first of all, I just wanted to confirm it's not a surprise, nothing innovative, but that in Iute Group also we have the 3 lines of defense that is fully implemented, and obviously the compliance function along with risk is on the 2nd line of defense, where we are responsible for adopting the internal policies and processes that meet the legal requirements. In general, our role is preventive, and we are somewhere in the background to make sure that everything goes smoothly and that according to the law. Obviously, we can't prevent everything, but we can at least give recommendations how to obey the best way. A good part of Iute Group is that legal and compliance is part of the management, so nothing can actually happen, or the business cannot make decisions without hearing out what the compliance has to say about it as well. In all our subsidiaries, we have also the chief legal and compliance officer. So I'm not relying only on my own knowledge or to my team in the HQ, but also to the knowledge and the experience of the locals who have the qualified qualifications. You can move forward to the next slide. I believe this is a slide you have seen before as well. And why I bring it out is that not only we are dealing with a lot of regulations in each country that differ slightly from each other, or sometimes in major parts, but we're dealing with different regulators. And why I wanted to bring this slide out right now is that there has been a shift in Moldova. Starting from 3rd of July 23, we are also under the supervision of National Bank of Moldova. There is actually a bit of confusion in this regard that we still have two supervisors. The main supervisor we call now National Bank in terms of responsible lending, but the consumer credit part still remains in the National Commission. So two supervisors in Moldova doesn't make our lives too easy, but I think it's something that we can manage and we can adopt to it. We can move to the next slide. And I just wanted to bring out some of the recent changes that we have seen in our countries, mainly in the three bigger ones. In Moldova, where we have now the responsible lending regulation that is actually effective already from 1st of September last year. But we also have different caps that were introduced. So the 0.04% daily cap for related payments of the loan except interest. And this is effective from last year, 29th of May. However, the regulation itself has had some amendments this year, 3rd of July as well. Then there's the 50% of cap on loan interest, which is also effective from 29th of May last year. And as you can see, these are not the easy ones. We have to comply with them. We had to comply with them, and if they all come in different times, the responsible lending in 1st of September, something in May, then our systems also need to adapt. And Moldova was a very special case in that sense that it is a special regulation. It is a special requirements that needed to be adapted in our core system. And it brought a lot of complexity, but I think in the end we did succeed. Albania, there is also different caps for loans under 200,000 leks and loans over 200,000 leks. And these are changing in every 6 months. Again, something that our system needs to adapt with, what our CRECO needs to decide accordingly. And in North Macedonia, very recently, we also saw that there is movement to some certain caps, but they have just capped the fees that are not related to effective interest rates, that are not counted in the effective interest rate. So starting from 28th of July this year, we have to consider that any fees that are beyond of EIR are capped to 60%. As a positive note, though, I would say that capital requirements that is introduced now, and it's increased, is a positive for us because we are already adhering to the regulation, and our capital is obviously higher. And this is good news for us to eliminate maybe some competitors who are not paying fairly, and we can see that some of the regulations, or actually all of them, can be considered to be as a positive for us, because if we want to be fair players, then these regulations actually are maybe even considered good for us because we can play fair with others. From my side, if you have any questions.
If I may only add, then basically
Yes.
Kadri just proved that unfortunately we are not able to decrease our IT cost because based on changes in regulations,
Yes.
we have to revise and we have to implement changes to loan system and so on. So unfortunately, yes, IT expenses definitely will
And
be.
compliance cost either. You can't cut it off either. It goes stricter and stricter. So we'll have to be in charge of it.
Well, eventually it comes down to the question, is it possible to make money if the cost of capital is, let's say, 11%? Well, actually it's higher because we sold the bond not at nominal price, but let's say it's 11, yeah. And then to charge from customers for their loans, let's say 40% APR, is it possible to make money with it? The answer still is yes. It just becomes more and more demanding and more precise. So again, we come back to the point of quality. And also looking back to our history and our own evolution track, then clearly we are also developing our management functions, and compliance management is having more and more bigger and bigger importance. So having said that, I think we have pretty well covered our past 6 months. I think you have some taste of what we are looking at and what we are expecting. We are looking at quality in its different aspects to build a long-term business and very big business. And also when we talk about the past, we have seen that there has been progress, but mostly it has been qualitative progress. Now, I would really ask our investors to ask questions from us. The more spicy, the more Iute, the better.
What a great introduction, Tarmo. Thank you first of all to you for your interesting presentation. Dear investors, you are now kindly invited to submit all your questions either by audio line. Please use the raise hand button on the lower part of your screen, or alternatively via chat, and we will read out your questions. While waiting for the first questions, we just give the investors a couple of seconds, especially the chat. Sometimes take a moment to write it all down. So, but we just received the first one, and I will read it out for you. What kind of impact will be the North Macedonian non-APR cap of 60%?
Not significant. It will be very minor impact, because we're talking about any other fees that are not counted in the effective interest rate. So we're talking about basically some when customers ask some documents to be printed out that are with a fee currently. So we have to just overlook the tariff book of ours for additional services.
Yeah, I confirm that it is not significant impact.
All right, thank you very much for clarifying. I can hardly believe that there are still no further questions. I think there might be some from all your investors. If there are really no questions and any questions are coming up after the call, you are of course always kindly invited to contact Iute Group and the IR department for further information. So that's just for the moment. What are your expectations, Tarmo, for CPI in the second half of 2023?
Yeah, it's like, let's say in the formula race where we are behind the first place. What are our expectations? Obviously, we want to be the first ones, or we want to aim the target. The target is 90%. Now, having said that, one has to bear in mind that the CPI, if you look at it overall, it represents the performance of all customers, and that means there are close to 200,000 people who have different maturities of their loans. and different loan types. So it's the very, very big grand average, which is presented here in this presentation. So if the grand average is 88, to bring it back to 90 points, that requires a little bit longer than 6 months, because the weighted average loan maturity inside Iute is about 23 months. So 6 months is enough to kind of replace approximately a quarter of the whole loan portfolio. So the question is, will the fresh quarter, which will come or enter the portfolio during 6 months' time, will the fresh quarter be strong enough to raise the weighted average from 88 to 90? Probably this is not going to happen over next 6 months. We are aiming it. So if I now tell you that there is a non-binding expectation and you will not later punish me, then we would like to see the stabilization first, that the decline stops. That's most important. And then secondly, if we could add about half or 1 full percentage points to the top of it, that would be very nice. But really, it also depends on the macro evolution of the market. And there we have as much control as you have. We all watch what is happening in the world, and we are part of it.
Thank you very much, Tarmo, for giving some more color on that topic. I honestly need to say, Tarmo, maybe you were also already so thoroughly in your presentation that all questions have been answered throughout that. And we did not receive any further question in the meantime. So if there is anything else from your end, you would again also share with the investors, feel free to do so. Otherwise, I would suggest we are slowly coming to the end of this earnings call, and as already mentioned, you stay at the investors' disposal for further questions afterwards anyway.
Well, what I want to say, I want to thank all our team across the countries for the 6 months results. Really big thank you. We actually also have to thank our customers, because the money still is coming from our customers, not from the shareholders or investors, but from the customers. That's a very important point in this business. Thank you, Kadi. Thank you, Crystal. And let's continue working. Your money is safe and your money is making money. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day.